just win, baby.
Oh, what's good? It's the late night lounge session. I'm trying to see if anybody up right now because I feel like ranting. Man, I can't sleep. Maybe if somebody can talk me off the ledge. See if you guys are gonna come pop up and see what's good in the hood. Let's see if anybody gonna pop in here. I mean, it is like 1 o'clock on the West Coast. It's like 4 o'clock on the East Coast. From what I understand, that there's like people that's up this time of night. What's up with you, bro? What's up with you? I want to play this video of something I seen. I was wondering what a few people thought about it. Let's get to it. Let's see. Ooh, ooh. Let's get to it, y'all. Let's get to it. All right, let me get this off here. All right, here we go, y'all. Here we go. What's good with y'all? Make sure y'all hit the like button on the late night. I appreciate y'all for sliding by with your boy. It's your boy Black the quarterback. But I was watching this earlier, and these guys are not Raider fans, and so they said some very interesting things. And I was wondering what you guys thought about it because I kind of felt like this, but it's good to see people that's not in the Raider camp have their opinion, so then that way I can see, but not if it's something that, we're just biased or what. But here we go. Let's check it out.
And as we get closer to training camp, momentum is building as the Raiders are making big changes. They've already made a bunch of big moves, and I think they're setting up a really smart under the radar trade. I think this is really good management and really good deal making potential here out of the Raiders front office. We'll dive into the latest reporting there and what it means for the Raiders in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. Or underperforming or guys that aren't seeing the field and what it means for the future. And what's interesting for the Raiders is that the discourse at the quarterback position has obviously dominated the headlines, but I think there's an element of that people don't understand. I think the Raiders are setting up a massive trade at the quarterback position. I'm not talking about Kirk Cousins and obviously not Mendoza, but with Aiden O'Connell himself. And if you dive into the specifics of what's going on with this Raiders organization, you can see exactly what they're doing. So to set the table here, let's pull up our report right here, and then we'll dive into what's, the details on the other side. So this is from SI.com talking about Aiden O'Connell. It could be calls about him being a starter or a backup quarterback. The thing that has changed in this league over the years has been the backup quarterback position. Now, they just do not want anyone in that spot on the roster. They want a quarterback they can trust with NFL experience, someone who can take over once their name is called. O'Connell has that on his resume. He has started games and has performed under pressure and in difficult circumstances. It's hard to say whether he would be a starter in this league, but he does deserve a shot. With the Raiders' packed quarterback room, that is likely not the case for him in Las Vegas.
Okay, so my overall assessment of AOC is that he is a viable backup. Can he come in and win a game or two for you? Yes, that's generally what backups are there for, to come in and bridge the gap between the starter maybe got knocked out a couple weeks and then the backup come in and try to keep the ship afloat. AOC has pretty much done that. Um, I don't know if he kept the ship afloat, but he did get a chance to show his skills. So his rookie season, he did start 10 games, went 5-5. But then the second season, I think he went 2-5, right? And then the third season, he didn't start. So because of his injury, he was out for 10 weeks and then came in and played the last game of the season. So backup is what it is. But a lot of people are saying that he didn't really get a good shake or a good chance to showcase his skills. Now, he did come out in the in the presser and say, hey, I want to be a starter in the league. So essentially, he's auditioning for 31 other jobs. Now, can he be a starter in some places? It's arguable. Some people say has a chance in Arizona, maybe even Miami, um, Minnesota, and maybe even a good backup for the Jets or compete against Geno Smith. So this is an article that came out saying that the Raiders are really just positioning him to be trade bait, and we want to try to get as much for him as possible. That's why you're hearing all the positive things out of Kubiak. And that's what I'm saying, that it's the politics. Of course, he's going to say that AOC is um, going to challenge the quarterbacks to make it seem like that it's a tight competition. But I've known from day one that this is no QB competition. There's going to be Mendoza's not going to start, Kirk Cousins going to start, and we want to try to hold out as long as possible. Now, could AOC be an emergency quarterback? Yes, I believe so. But I think what we're doing is posturing him for trade bait.
Obviously, the team wants to keep him to have that option at quarterback. If something were to happen to veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins before the season starts or early in the season, they would potentially go with O'Connell instead of rookie quarterback Fernando Mendoza. Whatever it is, the team will do its best to put O'Connell in a position to be successful. If they feel he has a chance to start elsewhere and are okay with Mendoza as the backup quarterback, we could see a trade that would make sense for both sides. This will likely come before it all begins for teams, as everyone will have the chance to learn the offenses. O'Connell has spent every year of his NFL career with the silver and black and was taken in the fourth round in 2023. So what we're starting to see is people are starting to realize something interesting is happening with Aiden O'Connell, right? He's a guy that's gotten very little attention, very little media publicity. All the eyeballs, of course, have been on Mendoza, and some have been on Kirk Cousins. But I think when you look at this recent reporting, you look at the discourse when it comes to Aiden O'Connell and the value of the quarterback position specifically, especially for a contending team, I think the Raiders are doing a really good job here setting up a trade. And you can kind of notice this if you look at the media reports on what the Raiders are talking about. So, for example, let's pull up the screen grab here. What I did is I searched up headlines involving Fernando Mendoza, and that there's a lot of negative media publicity. You guys have noticed this? Talking about why labeling Raiders' number one pick Fernando Mendoza as a prize project is a major red flag. Las Vegas gamble. Why sitting Fernando Mendoza behind Kirk Cousins could stunt the rookie's development. Fernando Mendoza struggling. The hidden risk in drafting Fernando Mendoza, right? And the list goes on and on. In fact, Miles, let's go to our next graphic. We got 5 more stories about Fernando Mendoza having some issues. Can he handle the pressure? Minicamp leaves scouts questioning Mendoza. External pressure could force the Raiders to rush Mendoza.
So essentially what they're saying is that the Raiders are putting out these reports to make this seem like the quarterback competition is tighter than it actually is. And that increases his trade value, AOC's. Initially, they said a 6th-round pick is like an equivalent. Now I'm starting to hear a 5th round. So if we can get something in the 5th round, maybe even a 4th round, then you see what SpyTech can do with the 4th round, with 4th-round picks. And I think we got Dalton Johnson in the 4th round.
Glaring weaknesses that haunt Mendoza, right? All this negative headlines, all this negative publicity. What does it really mean? This is what you see before a trade. What the Raiders are trying to do here is make sure that Aiden O'Connell's value doesn't drop like a freaking rock. Because right now, if you're one of the other 31 teams and you're interested in trading for Aiden O'Connell, you look at the Raiders quarterback room, you say, listen, you got your future guy in Mendoza, and you got your current guy in Kirk Cousins. Aiden O'Connell's not worth anything to you. So we won't give you anything for Aiden O'Connell. We have all the leverage. Whereas the Raiders, what they're trying to do here, this is what smart teams do. It happens all of the time. What they're trying to do is basically say, listen, Aiden O'Connell, he may be our backup. He's our number 2 quarterback. We love him as our backup. You guys see all the reports. Mendoza is struggling, with air quotes there. Of course, obviously, that's standard rookie stuff. But the reality is what the Raiders are doing is setting up this trade. They're putting the pieces in place to make sure O'Connell's value doesn't drop even further because I do believe Spytek is going to trade O'Connell. The value is there and the opportunity is there as well. You have to look at the timing of all of this. Why do we see the reports about the O'Connell trade? We look at the Mendoza storylines, and then we pull up the screen grab here from overthecap.com. And this is O'Connell's contract situation. 2026, this upcoming season, is the last year he's under contract. He's a free agent after this season. He walks away from the Raiders after 2026, which means the Raiders will get nothing in return. And his cap number, you can see it all the way there on the far right, the bottom right box there, $3.8 million. Again, that's a tiny amount in terms of cap space for a team to absorb. So super tradable. And now's the Raiders' last chance if they wanted to move on from Aiden O'Connell. When you factor in the timing, you factor in the reports, you factor in everything we're hearing out of Las Vegas, I think it's becoming inherently obvious John Spytek and company are trying to set up this trade. And again, you have to be very careful if you're in a situation like the Raiders because every single other NFL team is looking at you and saying, yeah, you don't want Aiden O'Connell. You want Mendoza and Cousins. We'll give you our last pick in the 7th round for the quarterback, which is not a good deal for the Raiders. So what do? You kind of tamper down the Mendoza expectations, right? You hype up, the challenges he's having. You talk about the fact that, hey, listen, he's got to go through some bumps and bruises, right? The media narrative that's prevailing out of the Raiders is, Mendoza's got a long way to go. And while I do think that is true, I think, that's all part of the process of being a young quarterback. I think you can't look at it in a vacuum. I think what we're actually seeing is a trade being set up by the Raiders. Again, a lot of people get really hyper-focused on the individual headline. Oh, Mendoza's not doing well, or oh, maybe he is. I think what we need to do is take a step back and look at the larger picture. The Raiders under John Spytek, certainly this offseason, have done a phenomenal job playing the long game. Do you remember during the Clint Kubiak head coaching search? They took their time. They went through the process. They interviewed a lot of people, but it was very clear they were trying to get Kubiak. They didn't rush. They played out the entire offseason. Of course, Kubiak, with the offensive coordinator with Seattle, had to coach all the way through the Super Bowl. They didn't rush to make a decision. They executed their strategy, and when the moments were right, they acted. And in the end, they got their man. That's how John Spytek has operated this offseason. That's frankly how I think they're going to operate going forward.
So, what do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? He said, "Don't be upset. He's another Ryan Leaf." Um, well, the expectation for Ryan Leaf was a lot higher than it is for AOC. I think the main argument is that AOC really haven't had a clean shot at starting, and then the one time that he did, he was over AP. Antonio Pierce wanted to start him, but he was overrun. He got overrode or vetoed, and that puts Aiden back on the back burner. So, do we get draft capital for him, or do we just continue to just keep him on the roster and see what he's worth at the end of the year? I think that's pretty dangerous. But if he's going to serve as an emergency quarterback for the first few weeks, I think at the trade deadline, before the trade deadline, he is going to be shipped off. It's just the price of doing business. Uh, it's not that I don't like him. I just don't think that. Well, I don't think he's a starter. It's clear he's not going to be the starter here. And if he wants to accept the role of being the backup, then I'm all with that. I think he'll be a very good backup. I think we'll have the best quarterback room in football, at least the top 3. I got a feeling AOC will be out of here, and one of the 2 quarterbacks we pick up during the draft will be our 3rd string. Oh, like the one quarterback that we have, the UDFA. Um, uh, I don't know if he's going to get enough reps in the preseason in order for that to happen. But if we do see him getting reps, then that might be the writing on the wall. You might be right there. I can see that happening. I definitely can see that happening. But do you think we should get something for him though before he becomes a free agent? Because he will be sought after this year. I think he would be. I think, there's a chance that he can go to He can end up going to the Patriots. He might go to the Jets because if Kirk, I mean not Kirk, but if Geno Smith have a hangover from playing with the Raiders last year and he's questionable, AOC can slide in there and challenge him and make him either or as they say, eat or get off the pot basically. Um, it's his chance. I mean, like I don't know how many other chances he's going to get because he's definitely got more chances than I've seen. So that I've seen for typical backups. But I just wonder what you guys think about that because when I saw this, I kind of felt this was what the Raiders have been doing this whole time. They've been just talking AOC up so they can make a trade. If they do end up trading him, do we now not trust Kubiak because Kubiak made it sound like that it was a good quarterback competition? He's frozen. Yeah, I paused it. What's up with you, Furpo? Good morning. On a late night. So, what do you guys think about that?
And just like with Aiden O'Connell, they're not rushing to trade him now just to get him off the roster, get something for him. They're going to let the process play out. They're going to go through training camp. They're going to go through preseason. They're going to see, unfortunately, a backup quarterback get hurt somewhere, and that's going to skyrocket Aiden O'Connell's value. And teams that are going to look at AOC are going to say, listen, the Raiders, they don't want to trade him because Mendoza's behind the eight ball a little bit. So this is an opportunity for us to maybe get a really good backup quarterback. That's what SpyTech is doing. That's what the Raiders are doing. So again, all the headlines, all the buzz about Mendoza, that's part of the process. That's part of the deal. All these rookies, especially in a situation like this, always have their expectations really tamped down, especially when you have a valuable asset like Aiden O'Connell that I think before it's all said and done, the Raiders are going to be able to flip for a decent sized return.
What do y'all think? Oh, you thought he was live with me? Nah, it's a video. So it's late. Hope y'all had a good fourth. How was your fourth, brother? But make sure y'all hit the like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to this goal. That's why I'm up at 1:30 in the morning, West Coast time, 4:30 in the morning, East Coast time. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and tell me what you guys think about this. Do you think this is something that's legit, or do you think it's just more just well, like smoke and mirrors? Because usually where there's smoke, there's fire. But is it endo smoke or is it a bonfire? So, what do you guys think? This was cool. I was chill. I chilled for the fourth. Yep. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna go live tomorrow. Probably a couple times tomorrow or today. I'm gonna be with the Good Raider later, 7:30 West Coast time. Um, and then I'll be on at 3 o'clock West Coast time as well. And we will talk more Raiders football. So, to my Raiders, have a good night.
I'm a Raider from the Bay to LA to Las Vegas. Recipes